So some time ago I watched this video by this guy from this YouTube channel called Practical Engineering, and what he did was that he used an Arduino to water the garden, and then he also collected data on the air and the soil and the temperature and humidity of it, to be specific. So I basically wanted to do the same thing, and I also made the box, with the only difference that he was writing his data to an SD card. I wanted to send it straight to Home Assistant. So Home Assistant is this home automation software. It's usually run as a VM or a Docker container or something like that. And in it you can have different web apps. And one of them is InfluxDB, which is a time series database. And it doesn't use SQL, it uses its own thing. And also whenever you add stuff into it, it puts a timestamp on it, so that makes it very nice for graphing stuff. But instead of using the inbuilt dashboard that gives you the ability to graph whatever, what I did instead is I used Grafana, simply because Grafana also allows me to put stuff here on the dashboard. But yeah, Grafana is basically just a visualization piece of software, a web app. So I added the InfluxDB as a data source, and here's the data. It comes in every 15 minutes. Readings from the sensor come in and they get graphed here. Sometimes the air sensor gets disconnected, so right now I should probably go downstairs and make sure that's connected. But also the green line on both of these graphs is the soil data, and the yellow one is for the air. So the way my implementation works is basically over here I'm counting how many 15-minute segments exist within a day, right? So in 24 hours you have 60 minutes per hour, so if you divide that by 15 you get 96. So the reason why I'm doing it that way is so that I can get the measurements every 15 minutes, and then when I want to water, I just have this counter which I initialize to 0, and if it's 0, then it waters for 2 minutes, then waits for the other 13. Also these two take some time, so that's accounted for, and then increases the timer, right? And before the loop ends, it checks whether it is higher or equal to the number of 15-minute segments in a day, and if it is, then it sets it to 0. So basically what it does is every 24 hours it watches it for 2 minutes. So these are all the functions. Here's how we write the data into the database. So basically we just check whether we're connected to the internet, and if we are, we try and connect to the server and make a web request. If that fails, which sometimes it does when the internet goes down, because it still has the client and it still thinks it's connected, but if it fails, that's usually because the internet has gone down, which it happens here in my house with the Wi-Fi that reaches the garden. So if it fails, then it disconnects and then it tries to write the data again. So that uses recursion, which might not be the best way to go about handling memory in a small circuit such as the Arduino. So I might just change that, but I wanna make sure that I don't lose this piece of data, or like this measurement, because if I just said break, then it would go through the loop, but this current piece of data wouldn't be written. Maybe I can do it with a boolean, and if the right data doesn't succeed, then it tries to do it again. So I don't know, we'll see about that. But then for measure humidity and temperature, I'm just using a enum, so that I don't have to write the whole thing again, and I'm just using the if statement inside to see whether it's air or soil. I'm doing some calculations over here for the soil humidity, and then the rest is just helper functions. So all of it is on my GitHub over here. Garduino is how I named it. I give instructions, I give cost breakdown in case somebody wants to do it by themselves. I give guides on how to wire everything up. The way I did it is I did everything on a breadboard first, and then I soldered everything to a circuit board so I can just fit everything inside of the box that I made way easier. I made a box to protect the electronics from the weather, but the 12 volt LED battery that I had couldn't fit in because it was too tall and also it was too long. So I had to modify the box a little bit and then I had to make it deeper. So that's the process of doing that in this montage. The only thing is that in the end the battery dies, so we don't see the last bit where I added the new bottom piece. So this is the part where the battery dies, and then what I do is I just take the piece of wood that I cut before and I stick it to the bottom of the box, and that creates a deep enough box to where I can use the battery. So in the beginning I was turning the valve on for 15 minutes, but then it turns out that the water is way too much for the garden. So here I've just picked up the hose and I've taken it to the tree that we have outside, and then I reduced the timer to 2 minutes and it was working fine. But later in the night I did get some problems. This was supposed to turn on about 5 minutes ago. It didn't. Also this, I think it only sends data for about an hour and then it stops, so I'm not sure if the entirety of the program just crashes after like an hour or if it's something else. So I actually had two parts in the code that were causing these problems. First was that over here on the loop I was increasing this 15-minute counter up here. So what that did was that it was set to 0 and then over here it was set to 1, so then it never started watering again. And then the other problem that I was facing was that over at the measure humidity and temperature function, over here I'm calling malloc, but I wasn't calling freeze, so I was running out of memory after 18 times, which is about 3 kilobytes, 3.5 kilobytes. So the whole Arduino has about 6 kilobytes of RAM. So that's how it was running out, and that's why it was crashing. I left this for 3 days and it seems to have collected all the data just fine, just properly. I really like looking at this data, to be honest. Over here you can see the soil temperature and the air temperature rise at around 2 in the evening, and this happens every day. Today we also watered, so this is me and my mother. We watered the pots over here, all of these, so we threw some water on the whole thing, including there, so this sensor picked it up. And now this usually fires at around 4 at night, so I don't want it to be at 4 at night. I want it to be a little bit earlier, something around 7, so like right now. So I'm gonna reset it now so that it starts again the 24-hour clock. I really enjoyed doing this project and I learned a lot of things. I will definitely be doing more home automations in the future, and I might be uploading a lot of them here on this YouTube channel. And at the same time, this project does still need a hose connected to the other end of the valve so that the water goes everywhere, and then it will have smaller tubes that will go to all the pots, so those get watered as well. So we'll be uploading a short of that. Overall, I really enjoyed the project, and thank you for watching.